King, any additional questions? Okay. A couple, Mr. O'Toole, I believe building more water storage is going to give Wyoming, other states, the water they need, provide system resiliency, also help maintain stream flows, benefit fish and wildlife. What do you believe are the associated benefits of smaller watershed-sized storage projects?
Well, for example, the project I talked to you about in our community is a two-state project, as I described earlier. And so, you know, as you know better than anybody, the Endangered Species Act looms over all of us. And having the flexibility of water for migratory birds, for example. You know, our family is working on Upper Colorado endangered fish and sage grouse. And having storage to release later, once you've seen, you know, I hope this doesn't sound too bold, but 3 years ago I could have told you what was going to happen to mead in Lake Powell because you weren't seeing the springs. The springs in my world are drying up. So I'm putting in solar wells and solar panels and doing every innovative thing I can do. You can have all the grass in the world. If you don't have water, you can't run livestock. So, you know, it has such multiple benefits. And part of those is protection. And, you know, when I'm with my grandkids riding around and we see migratory birds, we're as excited as we are about the genetics of our livestock because we realize we're in a system. And this idea of watersheds with small storage at the tops of the watersheds, the one we're looking at is at 8,200 feet. That takes away the issue that Mr. Ensminger talked about with losing, you know, water from heat and those issues. So high mountain storage and watershed storage are the future.
Ms. Toon, if I could just ask if, in terms of the Bureau, would they invest and look for more water storage opportunities in Wyoming and the upper basin states, as we just heard
yes,
described by Mr. O'Toole?
Yes.
Thank you. Senator King, you had one more question?
Yeah. I also wanted to mention that when you store water, you also are storing electricity, potentially, if you have a hydro associated, so that's another benefit. Mr. Ensminger, evaporation. How big a problem is evaporation in a large lake like Lake Powell or Lake Mead? And are there technologies, and I don't know the answer to this, I'm genuinely looking for the information, a film of plastic, a non-toxic chemical that would diminish or eliminate evaporation, or is evaporation not worth worrying about? My sense is it's a big number.
It's a huge number. Just between Lake Mead and Lake Powell, you're talking about almost 2 million acre-feet of evaporation every year. So to put that in context, they evaporate more just from those two reservoirs than Las Vegas uses in 7 years.
So is there anybody on the panel that might know, are there people thinking about the technology of limiting and diminishing evaporation, or is that just something we have to live with?
We've seen, and maybe one of the other witnesses is aware of something I'm not, at the retail level, all of our reservoirs in Las Vegas are covered. They're underground, and we have seen in other places, they're essentially ping pong balls that can float on top of the water that radically reduce evaporation, but those are all pretty small scale. I mean, you're talking about reservoirs that go on for hundreds of miles and cross state lines, so I don't know of a technology to stop that.
Mr. Hall, is there any thought given to how to diminish evaporation on a large scale?
Yes, I think when we talk about evaporation and transpiration from plants, it is a really important question in our overall water balance. And in fact, living in northern New Mexico, seeing the fires, I realize very keenly how much management of our forest makes a difference. And there's lots of work going on now to better understand how forest management can reduce the transpiration from the forests and the watersheds and provide other benefits, improved habitat, improved recreational experiences, et cetera. And so to the point of Mr. O'Toole's spring flow diminishment, that's something that we're seeing across the West, and undoubtedly higher evaporation rates, which are going to happen when you have higher temperatures, are part of that issue. And so to the point of investing in our natural infrastructure, looking at forest management very carefully and implementing the right management for our forests and frankly to rangelands as well, to improve the water yield and and provide other benefits is a really important thing for us to invest in and get figured out and get moving on.
Well, Ms. Toten, I hope that this may be an area of research. You're doing a lot of practical things, and it may be that we should be talking to the Department of Energy, but your office may be the right place to think about what are scalable technologies to reduce evaporation, which we've learned is a very significant number. If you could save enough water to supply Las Vegas by controlling evaporation on those two lakes, it would be, that would be a substantial win. So research, it seems to me, is a place where we could do some good here. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hey,